Welcome everyone to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Habitronistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security-oriented policies to guide the state of Israel. We are a movement of more than 20,000 people, including many reserve officers and operators from all branches of the Israel Defense establishment. Thank you, of course, to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into these briefings each day. It is a great privilege to be able to share with you behind the headlines and much analysis of this war here in Israel. I'm joined today by a very special person. We began these briefings soon after the war broke out. I knew there was one person we needed to get on, and that is Vice Admiral Eli Marum, who is the former chief of the Israeli Navy, and of course, a member of IDSF Habitronistim. So Admiral, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
It's wonderful to have you here. And we've been doing these briefings now for quite some time, really sharing all facets of this war with our wonderful audience of supporters and followers in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and of course, English speakers here in Israel. One of the issues we really haven't touched on is what's happening in the seas, in the Mediterranean. So it's great to have you here to really dive deep, so to speak, into those issues. Maybe the first thing we can start with is if you could just share with us what is the current threat level from the Huttis right now in Yemen?
Yeah, that's in the Red Sea. The Houthis tried, first of all, to target Israel with different kind of missiles and drones and so on. And of course, with a very good support from the United States Navy and ourselves, we succeeded to knock off all the missiles and drones that they fired towards Israel. There was one missile that was fired from probably South Syria or Iraq. And this one hit the school in Eilat, thanks God, without any casualties. Then when they understood that targeting Eilat is very difficult, by the way, I just want to mention that Eilat is the southern town in Israel, where about 70,000 people from the kibbutzim and the villages and the cities around Gaza are now in Eilat in hotels, waiting for the security situation to change and come back home. And then the Houthis started targeting ships. First of all, ships that had kind of relations with the Israelis, so with those that are living in Israel. And later on, they said any ship that is going to somehow go to Israel, the destination will be Israel, it will be attacked. And they, of course, they don't have a very good maritime picture, and they attacked many ships, some of them without any relations to Israel. But their declaration is very simple. Anybody who has relations with Israel, we are going to target. I thought at that time that Israel has to respond. Israel has a very good navy and is able to respond in this distance that is quite far from Israel, but we're able to do so. At the end of the day, the Central Command of the United States and the Fifth Fleet and the Pentagon, they imposed on Israel, and they said, Israel, we want you to stay aside. It's an international problem, and we are going to solve it. And if you remember, the Secretary Austin, General Austin, was here, and he came here and he established a coalition. I must say a very fragile coalition, which is actually based on the United States, the UK, Australia, Canada. Those are the countries. The rest, like those countries that are hurt more than Israel, like Egypt, by reducing the number of ships that are passing now through the Suez Canal, and the Saudis by almost paralyzing the port of Jeddah in the Red Sea. All of them decided not to join. Same like France, that she has a frigate there, but it's operating independently. And then the United States and the UK, they attacked some targets of the Houthis. Right now, the amount of attacks of ships has been reduced, but the Houthis are still there, and they're still threatening ships that are trying to sail maybe to Israel and maybe to other destinations. And sometimes they make also mistakes, and they hit even a Russian tanker. So the situation right now is not solved yet, and freedom of navigation in the Straits of Bab el Mandeb, which is the south entrance and outlet of the Red Sea, is in a problem right now. There is one more incident that I would like to say a word about. The United States SEALs succeeded to embark on board of a small vessel off the coast of Somalia and found lots of weapons and I would say parts of missiles, Iranian missiles. The Iranians are trying to smuggle those small parts that are very important for the Houthis because they are connecting those parts one to another. They don't smuggle the whole missile as a whole. They smuggle parts of the missile, and they are being made as one missile in Yemen. Unfortunately, the SEALs lost probably 2 men, which are missing in action, and they're trying to still to find them. But this is a very important operation. But at the same time, I would like to send my condolences to the families in the United States of those SEALs that haven't been found until this moment.
Absolutely. Now, the U.S. involvement to really stand up against the Houthis, is that because there is a deficiency in the Israeli missile defense system, or really on a strategic level, the U.S. does not want Israel to engage the Houthis more proactively?
No, I think it's a strategic decision. The United States doesn't want the confrontation between us and Hamas to escalate to a regional war. And therefore, they want to keep out Iran and even the Houthis out of this war so that it will not somehow escalate to a regional war. But at the same time, America is attacking the targets of the Houthis. The Iranians are firing missiles towards Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, and the Erbil, which is under the sovereignty of the Kurds. And this is absolutely escalating, as far as I see, into a regional war if the Iranians will not stop their involvement in this war. We could find ourselves in a very short while in a regional war. And therefore, the Houthis must be deterred to fire missiles and other strange, like drones and so on, and regular and ballistic missiles towards ships and threaten them. They must be deterred by the United States, and therefore the attacks of the United States and the UK on Houthi targets must continue. One of the targets that has not been hit yet badly is the port of Hodeidah, and I think that it will come once the Houthis will continue to target ships in the Straits of Bab el Mandeb.
So if we go back to 1956 with the Suez Canal, and of course that build-up to the Six-Day War, are we looking at a similar situation right now where the war in Gaza will be a footnote to a bigger conflict because of what's happening on the waters?
I don't know to estimate, but we are actually already in a regional war. We are fighting in different fronts. The first front is Gaza. We are also having some clashes with Hezbollah in low level in Lebanon. It's a kind of an attrition war. At the same time, we have terrorists in Judea and Samaria. Sometimes there are small operations coming from Syria. And here and there, we see, of course, the Huttis, we spoke about them. And here and there, we also see some times threats coming from North Iraq or South Syria. So we are already operating in many, many fronts, not as a whole war, all-in war, but we are fighting in different frontiers, and Israel is doing the best it can. At this moment, I don't think we need to have help from anybody else. We can protect ourselves. Israel is a very strong country with very strong military forces. And I'm sure that after we defeat the Hamas and we break their capability, their military capabilities, and their capability to control Gaza politically, the rest are going to see that Israel is succeeding, and I think that this will deter them from doing any other operations or military operations against Israel.
In these briefings, we've spent a lot of time discussing the IDF in Gaza and the extent to which dividing the focus and sending troops up north would be a strain on the IDF. Can you share with us in terms of naval operations, the Israeli Navy operating in the Mediterranean or the Red Sea, does that affect at all a focus with the IDF in Gaza?
We all must understand Israel is a small country. Don't forget that. The population of Israel has grown during the years. I was born here many years ago, and we were a very small country. Today we are bigger, but we are still a small country. And Israel must focus its efforts to the place that is most threatening the defense of Israel, the state of Israel, and the citizens of Israel. And therefore, I think Israel is acting right. We decided that our main focus and our main strengths will be against the Hamas. And first of all, we want to defeat the Hamas. And at the other frontiers, we are going to somehow going to defense. Sometimes it will be offensive defense, I would call it. We are attacking in Lebanon at the same time, but at the same time, we are not crossing the border. We are not crossing the border with ground forces. And I think that Israel is doing right, because we need to focus at the end of the day. Israel could, without any problem, confront in two frontiers and fight the Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time. But I don't think it's the right thing to do. As a military man, about the Navy, our Navy is not very big, but at the same time, we can, without any problem, operate at the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. And my thoughts were that the Israeli Navy had to attack the Houthis and protect the freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. And I'm telling you, and I know what I'm saying, the Israeli Navy has the capability to protect the freedom of navigation in the southern part of the Red Sea and allow ships to sail without any problem to Israel and from Israel.
Has anything changed in terms of our deterrence now that the USS Gerald Ford has departed?
I think that there is no change, because in the beginning of the war, the United States of America and President Biden, that I appreciate so much, and I want to thank him for all he have done. He is the first person in the world that understood strategically what is happening here. He's the first one that understood, and he's the first one that responded. And I'm thankful for all what he have done. Now, when he sent the Ford and the strike force to the Eastern Mediterranean, his famous words were, don't take this as an advantage. And he meant, I think, to two different addresses. One was Iran, and the other one was Hezbollah. He told them, don't. And this don't was actually followed by sending the Gerald Ford to the Eastern Mediterranean and the strike force, and then another Trident submarine. And I think that Hezbollah understood, and Iran understood very well, that it will be a mistake to attack Israel at the same time while Israel is confronting with the Hamas. Today, the situation is a bit different. Israel is now almost at the end of the first stage of offense in Gaza, and it's going to a second stage, which will be less intensive. And therefore, Israel has enough forces today in the north to attack Hezbollah if the Hezbollah will somehow decide to attack Israel. I think that at the end of the day, as you know, and I'm sure that you know, that about between 70,000 to 100,000 citizens of the north part of Israel, the part where I was born there, in the very north village in Israel, between 70,000 to 100,000 people are not at their home. They evacuated their homes. And therefore, I think that Israel has to decide, and it will be not long time from today, how do we somehow move the forces of the Hezbollah to the north. And I think that they need to cross the Litani River and to be there. We cannot send back people home in Metula and in other villages and kibbutzes in the north border of Israel, and they sit at their living room and they see a Hezbollah combatant or terrorist look at them from a range of less than 100 meters. This is impossible. And therefore, I think that at the end of the day, you know that there is a mediator called Amos Hochstein. He's here in the Middle East trying to reach a diplomatic agreement. In my understanding, before this diplomatic agreement will be established, there will be a confrontation in a higher intensity between us and Hezbollah.
Let's talk about Iran for a second.
Okay.
Does Israel need to attack Iran?
Oh, I wrote on it many articles years ago.
I know, that's why I'm asking. I want to know your opinion right now. Does Israel need to attack Iran?
Right now, I think we need to stabilize our borders, our first range borders. I mean, Lebanon and Gaza. This is the most important part for Israelis right now. Bring back our citizens back to their homes, the homes that they evacuated after the 7th of October. And one way or another, those are all the hands and the legs and the other parts of the body of the Iranian idea and the Iranian military forces. But at the end of the day, the head is in Tehran. And if you want to somehow stabilize the Middle East, Iran must be, one way or another, targeted, hopefully by the United States. But if we won't have choice, we will not be able to live with Iran having nuclear weapons. And as you know, during this war and the high level of noise, the Iranians enriched uranium in higher degrees of enrichment. At the same time, all those that are called inspectors, all the Western inspectors left Iran, and today you have inspectors from China and Russia. So the Iranians are moving forward with their military nuclear program, and Israel will not be able to live here peacefully if Iran will hold nuclear weapons. So either we do it to protect ourselves and our country and our citizens, or someone else will do it. And we know who is someone else.
So once things quiet down in Gaza and the threat from the Houthis is taken care of, and either through war or diplomacy, Hezbollah is neutralized, do you see an end to this broader conflict war without a direct fight with Iran?
No.
Straight to the point.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you. We have a lot of viewers who have been writing in questions. Thank you, of course, to everyone who is sharing questions. Are you able, Admiral, we have a few minutes left, to share Egypt's interest in what's happening on the waters in the Mediterranean, and if Egypt is an enemy in the seas or an ally?
No. Israel has peace peaceful relations with Egypt, and we hope to continue these peaceful relations with Egypt. We are not hugging one another every day, we are not kissing one another every day, but this situation is continuing already so many years, and it went through so many tests. You know that in 81 we signed the contract, and 82 we had the Lebanon war, and the relations between Egypt and Israel kept peacefully. The Egyptians were not involved in any way in the war in Lebanon. And Egypt is a very, very important country in the Middle East. It's one of the 4 superpowers, regional superpowers, that were here in the past in the Middle East, have long tradition here in the Middle East, and Israel respects Egypt a lot, and Egypt is helping Israel in many means. One of them is mediating between us and the Hamas. Egypt is involved in what's going on here in Gaza, and we appreciate that very much. Egypt is a peaceful and friendly country for Israel, and it's good for the stabilization of the region.
One thing we haven't heard much about is Israel's gas fields in the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any concern in this war that those are going to be targeted by Hezbollah or anyone else?
Of course, the gas fields of Israel are threatened all the time by Hezbollah, and this is one of the first missions of the Navy to protect the shores of Israel, and of course all the facilities in the exclusive economy zone of Israel. Right now those are the gas fields and the platforms, and the Navy is protecting those assets, and of course they are threatened by Hezbollah. If we are going to a higher level of intensity of war between us and Hezbollah, there is a good chance that Hezbollah will try to hit those platforms. Israel has a very good defensive answer for that, and of course that after that there will be an offensive answer as well.
Well, Admiral, Eli Marum, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for answering my many questions. This has been very informative for both myself and our audience. So I know you have a very busy schedule, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm glad that I kept pestering you. And finally, we had the ability to have this chat.
Thank you for having me, and good evening.
Wonderful. And thank you, of course, to all of our viewers, all of our supporters. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to do a rapid fire question and answer session tomorrow with Brigadier General Amir Avivi. So if you have any questions that have not yet been answered to all of our viewers, please send them in to me, and we'll try to get them on the agenda for tomorrow. Until then, everyone stay safe, stay strong, take care.